Alright, it's officially that time. I get to complain about how expensive a modern Pokemon card is. But before we do, as we always do, let's roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we talk about the Umbreon VMAX alternate art from Evolving Skies. Now, for folks who don't know about this particular card, it has rapidly risen to become one of the most expensive modern Pokemon cards in Pokemon trading card game history. Safe to say, as a result of that, it may end up one day in the future being one of the most expensive vintage Pokemon cards from the Sword and Shield era. So, there are a lot of questions about why this particular trading card has consistently risen in price, seemingly defying the basic economics of modern Pokemon cards and the way that they typically cool off in price once a set is released. However, with that said, there are a series of very valid reasons why this card's price remains so incredibly high. And so in today's video, I wanted to take a minute and point some of those factors out in the event that you, much like myself, are waiting in order to purchase this card for a binder, like I am, or for grading or other purposes. So, with all that said, this Bleeding Cool article that I found will be the muse upon which I philosophically wane. Obviously, as always, that link will be down below. Before we get started, of course, if you're new here and enjoyed today's content, definitely feel free to leave a like. It's the easiest way to support the channel and make sure that my videos continue to get pushed out to new folks and help the channel continue to grow. If you really like today's content, I'd also recommend you subscribe to the channel in order to join the Gengar Gang. We're an ever-growing, constantly growing Pokemon trading card game community. And yeah, often very fun to, hang out, watch a video 3 times a week most weeks whenever I physically am a human being enough to make 3 videos a week. But with all that said, thanks as always for your viewership, and let's dive right on in. So, this article posted pretty recently, so not but 2 days ago, where Theo posits the question, why is the Pokemon TCG Umbreon VMAX alternate art so expensive? Well, as a little bit of background, this particular trading card comes to us from the set Evolving Skies. It's one of the many different secret rares that exist. For anyone who's been out of the Pokemon trading card game for a little bit of time, one of the things to very clearly note is that secret rares are very different than they were at any given point in the history of the trading card game. In the past, it was very common that we'd get 1 or 2 really cool secret rares, or 1 or 2 really cool alternate arts. Nowadays, that story is slightly different. Effectively, sets have become so inundated with a variety of ultra rares and a variety of secret rares, including rainbow rares, that the Pokemon TCG, at least in its most recent sets, has pivoted slightly and is now using these alternate art secret rares as the main way through which they create hype about a set. So with that said, this particular card is the alternate art version of this card that you're seeing on screen, and obviously it sits literally right next to that card in the set. And yeah, it's one of those cards that is a huge chase card for a variety of reasons, some of which we're going to get into. So, after the writer of this article goes ahead and, asks the question, Theo then proceeds to provide us with some answers as to why that is. So, here you can see 3 of the reasons. We'll read through each of them and then I'll chime in with my own stuff. So first, no reprint. The biggest factor, yes, Theo, immediately sing it from the top of the mountains. The biggest factor in the value of this card is that Sword and Shield Evolving Skies is a fan favorite set that has not yet seen a major reprint. Generally, they'll get pumped out with additional reprints, but for one reason or another, and I think this had to really do with the timing of celebrations as well as Fusion Strike, as well as Christmas/year end, Evolving Skies basically got glanced over for a reprint, and as a result of that, there's very, very little quantity of trading cards that exist. Now, the PokemonCenter.com will occasionally pop up with a few sleeved blisters for sale, but I think most people attacking this from the most pragmatic standpoint will probably prefer to purchase Evolving Skies booster boxes and then take those booster boxes and rip them en masse in order to pull the Umbreon. Obviously, with no Evolving Skies booster boxes readily being reprinted, more and more of this will not be entering the general public population. Instead, there's quite literally a finite number, and it's creating an artificial amount of scarcity that is caused by the fact that it hasn't been reprinted. Over time, we will likely see these sets get reprinted, and when that happens, we will see the price of this card continue to decline, or at least start to decline. But what's funny is that usually by now, 6+ months after a set is released, these cards have usually gone through a full life cycle of sort of price declining, and this card has seemingly only gone up. The article goes on to note that this is why the Rainbow Rare Pikachu VMAX from Sword and Shield was once a $300 card, and it's now fallen dramatically. Obviously, Vivid Voltage is one of those sets that happened to release right in the middle of the global health pandemic, and as a result of the pandemic and the related supply chain issues, one of the things that happened is that the set just genuinely couldn't be printed because there was no one around to print it. Once there were people around to print it and production could ramp up to its pre-pandemic norm or close to, it obviously became incredibly easy to have more of those cards enter the market, and therefore the card dropped in value. Now, the article goes on to note this just isn't happening with Evolving Skies, and it seems like the only way is if we see a reprint of the set that will make many more of these cards available. But up till now, no news has come out on such a reprint. When I look at this entire paragraph, the only word that jumps to my mind is the word yet, because that's exactly, I think, the major problem we're seeing here. A card like this, that is a modern card that's not even a year old, should not be at these prices for this long with the sales pattern and the growth in price pattern that we are currently seeing. But I think the main reason for that is because we have yet to see reprints. Once we see reprints, I think this trend is going to buck. I'm not going to say you're going to be able to buy this card for $30. I do think you'll be able to pick it up for a pretty significant percentage discount from where it's currently at, and I have a feeling a major part of the reason for that will be because there are just so many more of these on the market that are getting ripped, and as a result, there'll be more and more availability and more competition, which will inevitably drive the price of the card down. Some other random tidbits that got posted up here. So outside of product availability, Umbreon itself is an incredibly popular Pokemon. Yeah, that's also very true. Umbreon is one of the most popular evolutions by far. And so the fact that it ended up being a chase card just happens to also be a very happenstantial type of situation that played out. And so as a result, this Umbreon card is clearly going to be in very high demand. It's one of the first VMAX cards of its type, and then bear in mind it's a really cool alternate art as well. I will also note Umbreon has historically gotten a lot of love, so obviously we have the Gold Star and its related sales history, which is pretty impressive. And then of course, in addition to that, we also have even newer sets that are also including Umbreon. So even though Umbreon got some love not even halfway through last year in Evolving Skies, we already have it, as this article notes, in the trainer gallery, and then the shiny Umbreon GX from Hidden Fate. So it pretty consistently gets a lot of love, and I'm super excited about that because I think it's a really cool Pokemon. But with that said, whenever you get one of these cards creating a lot of hype in a set, much like a Charizard, it becomes a chase card inevitably. Finally but not least is rarity. So the final cherry on top of all of this is hard to prove, but the thought is that it's just simply a harder chase card to pull than others. Now, there's a whole bunch of pseudoscience that goes into guessing how this stuff works. People have pointed to uncut sheets of rare vintage Pokemon cards and attempted to do some backhanded math by counting the number of cards on the uncut sheet and then determining ratios based on that. And although I think there's a philosophical argument to be made there, I can't necessarily say that's 100% true. I also bumped into this particular item on Twitter, of all places. By the way, I do have a Twitter. You can go follow me there. Wink, wink. And apparently Pokemon card rarity has inflation, because what doesn't have inflation nowadays? Am I right? So apparently back in the day, you needed 48 packs of base set in order to pull one Charizard. By the way, I have no clue who created this, what the source is. I don't know. So I really couldn't tell you if any of this is true. But, you know, just something interesting to think about if it does end up being true. Apparently, you need 216 packs in order to get one Rayquaza Gold Star, so this was from the EX era. This one, I will admit, does appear to at least be anecdotally true. The general consensus around EX Deoxys was that there was a Gold Star in 1 in every 72 packs, or every half a booster box, or basically you got 1 gold star per every 2 booster boxes you opened up. There are 3 gold stars in EX Deoxys, therefore, in theory, in a perfect world with no duplicates, one distributor's case of booster boxes, or 216 packs, would get you 1 Rayquaza Gold Star. That's the only reason that I chose to show this on screen, is because I think the math for the EX era works, and since I'm an expert there, we're going to use the transitive property of math and just, you know, assume for funsies that the other ones are true as well. So you can clearly see there's a bit of inflation that's actually going on. Yeah, exactly. It went from 48 packs for a premium card to 216 packs for a premium card. And bear in mind, while this was happening, additional dilution of rarity was occurring, right? So one thing to point out is that back in the day in base set, you had literally 12 to 16 holographic cards. That's it. The rarest card you could possibly pull was a holographic card. If you got a lizard that breathed fire with a sparkly background, you were lit. That's it. By the time you got to the EX era, you literally had the same holographic cards, then you also had the ultra rare EX cards, and then, by the way, we snuck in these other ultra rare cards which are even rarer. So bear in mind, at this point in the history of the Pokemon TCG, we were already seeing some additional layering of quote-unquote rarity. Now, by the time we get to Umbreon VMAX Alternate Art in Evolving Skies, apparently you're looking at a pull rate of about 1,752 packs. I don't even know how many booster boxes that is, and frankly, I'm going to put the math on screen, but yo no say and yo no wanna say, because that's a lot. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that part of the reason we're seeing a 4-digit number and we need a comma in the amount of packs that you need to pull this card in is because you have so many additional rare cards, quote-unquote rare cards, that can take up that slot. This is one of the greatest commentaries on modern Pokemon right now that we currently are going through, and that's that you could legitimately buy an entire booster box of trading cards, and you will probably only care or walk away with about 4 or 5 cards. And fun fact, most of them will have either texture, holo, or some combination of the two. Most of the other cards will immediately get tossed into a box and either given to a cousin to play with, or in a best case scenario, either recycled, donated, or sent off to a bulk place that buys bulk and gives you either store credit or money. So that's another interesting tidbit here. Now, back to the article real quick. They do say here that this person opened 15 booster boxes. Don't know how you got your hand on those, but God bless. And he pulled the second biggest card of the set, Rayquaza, 3 times. Umbreon, never held one, never seen someone pull it in person. It could just be luck of the draw, but I do buy the idea that it's rarer than the other secret rares in the set. And honestly, that doesn't surprise me. It could just be one of those things, right? It's almost like the story of the boogeyman, but there are just certain cards that on a given sheet of trading cards, especially the ultra rare trading cards, which are all made from a similar card stock, it could just be that mathematically speaking, whatever decides how many of these get put onto a trading card sheet is purposefully limiting the amount of this particular card. And that's why You can see tons of people pulling 3 VMAX alternate arts, must be nice by the way, and no Umbreon. There might be another person out there in the world, who knows, that just based on distribution and probability pulled 3 Umbreons and no Rayquaza VMAX alternate arts. You know, hopefully that person just sold right about here and then is on with their merry life, but who's to say? The one other thing that I wanted to point out as I begin to wrap up this video is quite literally take you to TCG Player. TCG Player is one of obviously the most well-known trading card marketplaces on the internet. Them and Troll and Toad super always hold it down, so definitely recommend checking it out. Obviously not like a perfect marketplace, so much like eBay, you know, occasionally you do end up in some trouble, but by and far, I really stand by TCG Player. I think they're super dope. So if you've never heard about it, I definitely recommend you go check it out. It's very, very cool. The other thing that's really interesting is that you do get some price point data, so this is pretty neat. You do get a market price, a buy list median price, a listed median price, some recent sales data, which is always nice. You can also view sales history right down here. I think for our purposes, the most important thing is right here, honestly. Let's just look at the let's just look at the quite literal pre-sales data, right? So if we look at a full calendar year, and like I said, Evolving Skies has not been out a full calendar year, you can see right around pre-release, this card was at $337.49. Obviously, right around release, you can see it dropped, which we expected. You know, it goes up to $218, so now we're starting to see as like time goes on, we're in September, you know, by like October, the price is going down, right? Because again, waves of Evolving Skies are hitting store shelves, waves of Evolving Skies are beating down on a variety of different distributors, and then all of a sudden, right around November is when Fusion Strike drops, and people are waiting. But instead of getting Evolving Skies reprints, we get those stupid evolution boxes that everyone thinks I'm crazy for saying I don't like, and that kind of stuff. And then, slowly but surely, through year end and into the new year, we see this astronomical 33%, almost 50% increase, right? From right here, it's 191. You're telling me it's going up easily $100. That's a 50% price increase in the course of 3 months. You know, that's diamond hands type of money if you knew to buy it right then, right? But you can see it's stratospherically shot up, and this period of time also coincides with the release of Brilliant Stars, meaning printers were very busy doing Brilliant Star stuff, and not doing Evolving Sky stuff. And now you can kind of see, you know, right here it's kind of kicked back and forth, but don't be deceived by this, because, you know, $347 is the high price, but maybe that card was particularly well centered. You're still in the 300s, consistently in the 330s as a matter of fact. So all things considered, that is where we're at with this card. Over time, I do expect this card to go down. If you're like me and you're someone who is just planning on buying it for a binder, maybe getting 1 or 2 graded because it's a cool Pokemon, you need to just be patient. I think we're going to see this card go down even further than 170, 115. And I think the reason I can comfortably say that is because this set will continue to get printed, because it is certainly not going anywhere, given that it literally came out in late 2021. And I think after a bunch of reprints and a bunch of people cracking packs knowing this card is as expensive as it is, sooner or later what we'll end up with is a giant amount of these cards sitting in people's inventories, and you won't see 300s plus shipping. You'll probably see low 120s, maybe even 100s. It all depends. In case anybody's curious, the other Umbreon is about $79, so I could tack $50 on because it's an alternate art. I think we're firmly going to land in that 120 space. And of course, there's the Rayquaza, $220. That's the second most expensive card in this modern Pokemon card set. Just stop and think about that. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, like I said earlier, definitely feel free to leave a like on the video, and hey, subscribe if you're not already. Seriously, if you enjoyed today's content, in order to help support the channel, join the Gengar Gang, and be a part of our happy little community. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for watching. I appreciate your viewership as always, and we will talk soon. Peace.